It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's silly time on Taxi TV Live. This week, starring Matthew Vander and Chuck Henry, live from the Taxi Road Rally.
What are we going to do this?
We're going to do this for 90 minutes.
We're all tired and goofy from the week.
We are all veggie-like, brain dead, post-rally head. Wow, there actually people showed up. I thought everybody'd be in airplanes going home from the road rally. Well, hello, everybody. Who do we have in there? L. Harrison, Robert Willoughby. Can't read the comments because the computer's really far away today. Greg Vaughn, Dan Weber, Steven Spinner, James,
Mark Himley.
Mark Himley. I just saw Himley in an elevator this morning, I thought. Marion Laird.
Oh, Peter
Rahill. Saw him numerous times. Anyway, we are all back from the road rally. It just ended last night around dinner time, and some of us were still at the hotel this morning. Right? No, you guys stayed at your place last night?
Yeah, I stayed at my place.
Anyway, I'm really glad to have these guys here. They're good friends of mine, really good friends of mine, and they're so lively. I said to my wife, I don't know what I'm going to talk about on the show with them today. I'm so brain dead. I haven't written anything out for the show. And she said, doesn't matter. Those guys are in such good spirits all the time. As a matter of fact, wherever you go, you can hear them laughing.
we already got told to keep it down once.
Oh, that's true. One of the screeners was apparently a little ticked off that they weren't talking in their library voices.
We got in trouble. 5 minutes, we get in trouble already.
I don't think these guys actually have library voices.
No, not really. That's why I don't go to libraries.
Ask Ev when I sneeze how bad that is.
So right before we went on the air, you were talking about farting. Which is a topic we've never covered on the show before, and we're not going to cover it today, but I did want to warn you guys, the sneakers that I'm wearing smell like a fart. They do. Here's why.
They don't sound like it, but they smell like it.
I've got some other ones that you walk to go... They do, but these sneakers I was wearing them while river rafting in the Jordan River this summer, and the raft got hung up on some rocks. So I jumped out of the raft, and the silt on the bottom was like 2 feet deep, and so I was like knee deep in silt, and my sneakers took on all this silt, which is like dead organic material.
Oh yeah,
and so no matter how many times I've washed them, no matter how many times I've dried them, no matter how many times I've put them outside to like roast in the sun, I've put deodorizers, I've done everything. And as I was putting them on this morning in the hotel room, I thought, they still smell like a fart. But I don't care because the other ones are packed and I just need to get out of here. And then on the way back, driving here from the hotel this morning, I thought, oh no, Chuck and Steve, or not Chuck and Steve, Chuck and Matt are going to be sitting next to me going, what's that smell? So it's my sneakers. It's actually the silt of the Jordan River. So, what?
Remember the sign?
Oh, the science Brie is kicking me under the table already. Dear God. Subscribe.
We're all
if
getting
you're
in
not
trouble
a subscriber, subscribe. You gotta like this show. Out of every show we've ever done, you gotta like it because we got these guys on.
These idiots.
Don't forget to share it with your
Might
new
be
friends you
yanked
made
by
at the road rally.
Censored.
So, let's talk about the rally. Were there any interesting moments for you that we can talk about publicly?
Oh, not on camera.
Really? You got nothing, huh?
It was awesome. It was just a blast, but it's always a blast.
We loved your panel. That was great. You
That
were
was
funny as hell.
Oh.
Not only was it funny, we did a panel talking. I don't know where my schedule is, but we did a panel. What was it called? Making time to make more music and
money. Yeah.
And it was you,
Marcus, Keith Lee Brandt.
What's Marcus's last name?
Cohen.
Marcus Cohen.
Yep.
Keith Lee Brandt, which rhymes with Lou Grant.
Randall Purcell.
And Terrell.
That's
Terrell.
right, Randall Purcell and Terrell Burt. And so I want to talk to these guys, because they're all really productive people. And to varying degrees, they're all successful using Taxi. And the fact that I hate it when people walk up to me and say, well, I haven't really taken advantage of my membership because I've got a full-time job, I've got a house, I've got a mortgage, I've got a family, you know, I've got all these life responsibilities, which I get, I understand it. And those guys were my living proof that you can have all these responsibilities and still be successful and still find the time to be successful. So it was basically my way of saying there's no good excuse. But the panel actually really went better than I thought it would, frankly. I knew that you guys would be a lively group and that you would disseminate good information. You know, it's remarkable. Look at the guy in that shot.
That's my previous haircut.
Yeah, and then look at that. Okay, anyway.
You still got it on the wall. Oh, so sweet.
Then,
you got that one too.
Yeah, I keep them all.
Oh,
All of Matt's little love letters, I keep on my wall.
oh sweet.
I
My
got
baby girl on there.
She's adorable. Anyway, so the panel went really, really well, and I think that you guys gave out some great information as to how people can be more productive. And if you had to bottom line the whole panel, it was get off your butt. Wake up early in the morning and do your thing, or do it on a regular basis every day.
Don't make excuses. That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you like how I tied that together? I had Dean Kripang get up there and talk about fear and fear, anxiety, and procrastination. Had you guys up there. It was just every successful member that I can think of will say the forums, collaborating, listen to the screeners, watch Taxi TV, go to the rally.
Yeah.
And yet so many people go, well, I've been a member for 4 years, and, you know, I've really only submitted like 13 things, and I've had 6 forwards, but I haven't heard anything. I had a guy walk up to me and say, I've had 6 forwards. It's like the last thing anybody said to me last night before I went back up to my room was, I've had 6 forwards. How long should I wait to hear? And I said, don't wait. Remember, write, submit, forget, and repeat.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yep, I got one of those stickers right there. So, but also, I forgot, I wanted to mention something at the top of the show, which is I want to give a shout out to Neil McTavish, Bria's dad, who we absolutely love. Adriana Lucette, her husband Jake Davis, Anna Yarbrough, and her husband James. They came to our office today after the rally when everybody else is kind of dragging their butts around. These people made it their business to come over here and help my staff unload the truck in our warehouse and in the office, and all they got for that was a few slices of pizza. So I really appreciate them, and a special shout out to Neil because he was here in the office helping to stuff stuff for the bag stuffing thing a couple days later. He was instrumental, very instrumental in getting the banner and the backdrop up at the rally. Anyway, he's a big help every year, and we really love him as a person and love his can-do spirit. You know, the man is always helping us. So thank you, Neil, if you're watching the show. So how many pieces? I mean, I know that I knew this number, and we talked about it on the panel. How many pieces of music? First of all, how long has it been since you said, I'm going to do production music, instrumental stuff? Well, not only instrumental, you do songs as well. I'm going to start doing music for film and TV after you gave up the fantasy of being a rock star or a country star. It's been like 5-6 years, something like that?
7 years. Yeah, the only rock star I can.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Hey, cheers.
By the way, this episode is brought to you by new flavor, Cotton Candy Rockstar, which apparently was a big hit at the Road Rally.
300 milligrams of caffeine and creatine. It's like a health drink.
It has 300 now. Really?
That's nice.
Right there, right on the can.
Oh, Lord.
It's right in
300 milligrams? That's like enough to kill you.
It's like 12
What is
cups of
this?
coffee or something like that.
Oh, God.
I drank a half of one of these, didn't feel anything. Oh, well.
You got too much tolerance.
You built up a tolerance.
I really don't drink that many. I really don't. But that's so tasty.
Yeah,
It smells.
Did I say this episode's sponsored by Rockstar? Just saying.
This episode especially.
Yeah. So, yeah, 7 years ago.
7 years, yeah, 7 years. And, how many, what was the question?
How many pieces of music do you have out there signed in various catalogs in total, do you think? I know you...
I know the ballpark. This might be off by a handful, but it's over 2,500.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a crap ton of music.
Yeah, that's a lot. Anyone can do it if you... You fanned that to me.
Well, it's either that or smell my shoes. Okay.
I tell everybody, anyone can do that. It's just...
Can do what?
Make that much music.
Really? I don't think so.
Well, some do it maybe a little quicker. But I think too many people get caught up in like big, they think way big picture, and they'll hear me say you got to make hundreds of tracks a year, and they think there's no way I can make hundreds of tracks every year.
So they don't even make one.
So they don't make one. I'm like, make one.
Yeah.
And then make another one, and before you know it, after weeks and months, you'll have a stack, and you'll look back and say, well, son of a gun.
Yeah.
I actually made a lot of music, and if I just keep this up, I'll have a good chunk by the end of a year. But I think too many people get intimidated by the overall number of music or of tracks that it takes to find substantial monetary success, and they just get paralyzed.
I think it was Dean Crepane that was talking about that during his panel. Somebody was where they were saying, you know, rather than getting paralyzed by 10, just make one.
Yeah.
And then when you finish that one, you're going to go, wow, that wasn't nearly as hard. Somebody was talking about that. Anyway, it's all a blur to me now. But and you know what? You made one. Mm-hmm. And now you've got 2,500.
Yeah,
and
I made a lot of garbage too.
It didn't happen overnight, but do you feel like what was the ramp up as far as the first one? Let's say the first one was not very good, and the second one was like not as bad, and the third one's like wow. Yeah, how long did it take before you got to the point where you felt like I'm the master of my domain. Anytime I sit down to make a track, there's a reasonably good probability it's going to turn out as a usable piece of music.
It's going to be embarrassing. It was like a year, maybe longer than a year.
That's not embarrassing. I think that's great.
Yeah. I made 75 pieces of music my first year, and none of them are usable. Like, none of them.
See, there's hope.
Yeah, yeah. But every one gets you closer to better.
Yeah.
And so for people that only do 5, let's just say it takes you 100 tracks before they get good. It's like you got to just hurry and get through those 100.
That's great advice.
Yeah, get that crap behind you.
And finish them, though.
Yeah.
Don't have 100 false starts. Have 100 that you finish, even if they suck.
Yep.
How about you, Chuck? How long did it take you to get to the point? How many tracks? How much time did it take you to get to the point where you felt like, wow, I actually kind of know what I'm doing now?
I would say probably around 2004.
2 days after he started.
Stop. No. Gosh, it's been so long ago. I got to think about that one. Probably a few years before I was like just totally doing it full time and cranking out the tracks.
Yeah. So the story is kind of the same, not only with you guys, but the other successful members that are kind of in this, club of successful members. You guys all tell the same story, which is didn't come immediately.
Yeah.
It's not overnight.
And I'll tell you, after that first year where things started getting better, doesn't mean that they were great. So they were like...
It just means they didn't suck.
It means they weren't horrible, and I wasn't embarrassed by them anymore. So I could actually be proud of what I was doing. Well, yeah, I was proud of the garbage I made too, just because I made it myself.
Yeah. And you didn't know anything about recording.
I didn't know anything. Nothing.
Tell them the story
Nothing.
you were telling on the panel about you sat down, just started turning knobs.
Yeah, well, okay, so I came home from my first road rally, which I think I was trying to figure out, was 2011, and I was like, I want to start making music on my own, because prior to that, I'd spent thousands of dollars in recording studios. And
he lives in a suburb of Boise, Idaho, so
yeah.
It's not like there are a lot of studios around back then. Especially.
No, and there's like two
two
out there. But I realized that if I wanted to do TV composing, I had to be able to do it on my own, and I had to be able to do it quickly. But I didn't know the first thing about any of it. I knew how to turn on my computer. That was about it. Like I remember opening Pro Tools for the first time, and you know how like if you open Microsoft Word, you're at least given a canvas,
Right.
like a blank white piece of paper. Well, Pro Tools doesn't even do that. You click it on and the screen just stays static. Like, how do you even start?
You
I
stare
didn't
at
even
it for a
know.
while.
Yeah, I was like, where's the program? And I looked up in the top corner, it said Pro Tools. I'm like, well, the program's running, but where's the thing? Where's the workspace?
Control N, I'm guessing, right? For a new.
I think it's
A new
something like
session,
yeah, I still don't know the keyboard shortcut,
Yeah.
but it took me a while before I even knew
Well,
how
I
to
did
bring
that
up.
too. It's like every day I'd work with it, I'd learn something new. Like, oh, that's how you do it. And next day I'd learn. I'd be like, oh, this.
Yeah.
Just
You
everything
know, it's
working
funny.
and working.
You do need to do it repetitively in a fairly short succession, because I've found that, especially with audio programs, that it's the kind of thing that requires habit.
Yeah.
You have to do it over and over
Yep.
again. Then at some point you go, I don't even have to think about it anymore. And then you develop another habit on top of that, and then another one on top of that. Before
Yeah.
you know it, you actually know what you're doing.
And then, like, I met this fool, 2012 at the rally.
Yeah.
Walking through the bar. And he said, can I play my stuff? So I went, and he played it. I was like, okay, well, you need to do this and change it. Guys in pointers, whatever. Now he sends me stuff. I'm like, damn, dude, that's good. I mean, he does some amazing stuff. So where
Hey,
you've come
thanks.
from 2012 until now, it's like,
For a guy that literally didn't know what to do when he
Yeah.
launched.
Didn't even know how to turn the program on.
And here's the funny thing. This is actually one of the questions that I did write. Oh, you know what? Let me go to something else first. It's more in line with what we're talking about. I'll get the other thing in a second. Do you know how many placements you've had in total? Could you even venture a guess? Because the number's got to be huge.
I got about 900 TV shows and 9,000 episodes. That's where I'm at.
Wow.
And
And
probably
sometimes it's like multiple placements in the same show.
Those are better. I like those better. But
So 9,000 episodes of TV. Have
almost.
you
I'm on
yeah.
like 8,800 or something. I don't know.
You can
whatever.
round up.
Yeah, just round it
When
up
it's
a little
that
bit.
big, you just round it up.
And how about you?
So, somewhere around 10,000
Unbelievable.
10,000
10,000 episodes?
placements.
10,000
It's
placements.
1,700 episodes.
Wow.
And most of those now, like when I open up Q Sheets now, they're anywhere from 5 to 8 placements on each TV show, like on each episode.
Wow.
I'll just type in like Control F or whatever to do a search, and I'll type in my last name, and when I see like you've got 12 results, I'm like, oh come on! I hope this is a good paying show, and I just go through and just like I'm looking for the ones that are like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Sometimes they're just 4 or 5 seconds. If
The
they
ones
just
that are
use
1 second, really, I'm like, seriously, 1 second?
yeah,
I
but it still
understand.
counts.
Well, it's
Still
probably,
I know, but-
it's probably just the thing that goes
the
bam.
sting, yeah, boom.
Exactly.
Sometimes they take the last hit, but that still counts. That's a placement.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would imagine those pay pennies, but you know what? It's a penny business, and it all adds up.
Yeah.
Pennies add up.
That's why you always put a big reverb tail
Right.
on every last note, because then you get like 3 extra seconds.
But don't take him literally, because now I know people are going to start adding like 10-second
Oh, this
reverb
is
tails.
bad advice. This is advice
I
that
mean,
comes out
if
late
you-
at night.
If you're going to do it tastefully, you know. So how about you? When you started, did you know anything about the technological stuff at all?
Well, I was just saying, I got Pro Tools in the year 2000, and like I opened it up and sat down with this blank canvas. I'm like, the hell do I start with this? It's just doing it every single day and learning it, and eventually you become like second nature, I guess.
Yeah, I've watched you work. I mean,
Oh yeah, I brought my thing in here.
Yeah, you could literally do it with your eyes shut, and I'm sure that Matt could as well. Which I think all of us get that way with certain programs that you use all the time.
Yeah.
I got that way. I'm a tell a secret on Taxi TV that I've never told anywhere else before, but there were times where I was so bored in the control room, like punching in syllables on records or something, that I would entertain myself by shutting my eyes and going like this and reaching out and going, okay, I'm going to touch, reverb return 4. And it'd go boom, because I had done it so many times. I knew,
Oh my God,
yeah.
here's a console that's 12 feet wide, and I had done it so repetitive. It's like a golf swing. It's muscle memory.
Wow.
That I could literally hit a particular spot on the console with my eyes shut, just because I'd done it a zillion times. And the band was called The Reds. And that was the record I got caught by the producer, Mike Thorne, the guy who did Tainted Love. requested me for a record. I think it's a band called the Reds from Philadelphia, I want to say. And one night I'm sitting there at the console. He was off to my right side with the synclavier. The whole record was synclavier. And he goes, "Why are you touching the console with your other shot?" I didn't want to say because I'm bored, because all you do is sit there with the synclavier. But anyway, so never confessed, Mr. Thorne. I'm really not sorry. It was boring to watch you sit. The guy sampled everything in the band. Like, they had an upright bass player, sampled the drums, sampled. The only thing that was live on that record was the vocal, and he probably sampled that whole thing on the synclavier and cut it up and moved it around.
Oh, jeez.
So in your own words, what is it that you guys have done that other Taxi members who are not finding success yet might not have done? Chuck?
Let me think about that for a second.
Okay, Matt?
Your second is over. My turn.
Oh, okay,
But I need another second.
Time's up. Oh, that was good. Oh, it's different sound every time. Oh, that was even better for that. Either one of you.
Go ahead. He's fixing to say something.
Well, I was just going to start talking without really thinking it through, because I didn't know if you were ready. But you go ahead.
And why should this day be different from you? I can do this.
I would say that what I did every year from year one that I started is I set these lofty goals that I thought were unattainable for where I was at.
Isn't that the opposite of every goal-setting advice that you normally? It's like, set a goal that's achievable.
That you know you can achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
You did the exact
Who's
opposite.
got time for that? Yeah. I said set lofty goals. Like I told everyone at the mentor lunch that I did, my first year I had this goal to make 50 pieces of music. That was it. One a week. And I thought, man, if I could do that, that's more music than I've ever made in my life. And I'd do it all in 1 year. Yeah. Like one piece of... Previously, when I'd recorded these albums, it'd take me like a year or 2 years to write 10 or 12 songs. And so I thought, man, one a week, that's cooking. So anyways, the first year I made 75. And I thought, well, man, I really killed it. So
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, so then the next year I thought, well, I'll do 100 and just raise the bar a little bit. And I think I finished with 140 or something like that. And I was like, okay, next year, 200. And I just like steadily raise them.
And you were still working as a full-time college professor for those first couple of years, right?
Yeah.
For 5 years or something.
Yeah, for 5 years until it took off as a full-time thing.
How did you find the time? I mean, how's your daughter? 4?
3.5.
3.5.
Yep, 3.5.
So you were working full-time, and some of that time you had a kid, you know, and... where did the hours in your day come from?
Okay, so luckily, being a college professor, I was teaching the same classes over and over and over again. And so what would normally take a professor X amount of hours to prepare and then go teach and then, grade and then revamp your lesson plans and stuff, I'd already gone through that. So what would normally take a 40-hour work week for a normal professor would take me 20. Because all the work was done. So that freed up 20 hours a week.
But you still had to grade papers, didn't you?
Yeah. F. It was almost like I had a full-time job that I was doing part-time hours on from the teaching thing. So that automatically gave me more time than I think a lot of people get.
So there's a valuable lesson right there. Be a college professor.
Let me recommend
40,
that.
work 20.
But so I understand though when people say, "Oh, I got a 40-hour week job and I have to come home and squeeze everything into this 2 hours," where I've got my wife or husband or whatever saying, why don't we watch a movie tonight? And the musician who's trying to make a career out of it, you're like, I don't want to watch your movie. I want to go work on something. And they're like, no, but that doesn't pay anything, and you got to spend quality time here. And so just get rid of those guys. get rid of your girlfriends.
Have you ever been married?
No. Oh,
now
no.
we know
no.
why not.
Yeah. I don't think I'm marriage material.
But your imitation of your future wife was really solid.
That was what I had to deal with at the time. Okay. We'll just kind of stop that story right there.
No, Matt, tell us more.
I'm going to lay out the couch, and you can be my therapist for a little while.
Oh, man. Okay, so you found the time because you were fortunate in that you had a job that paid you for 40. You only had to work 20.
Mm-hmm.
So is it, how many hours a week were you working?
I was still
on
music. I was still probably working 20 to 30 hours a week on music stuff.
Wow.
So I was putting in at least a 40-hour work week, 50-hour work week every week, and I never took a break. So weekends didn't exist. It was just you work from Sunday to Saturday, from midnight on Sunday to midnight on Saturday, and you just go.
And that's what I was going to say. Is like you can't make excuses, and if you really want to do this, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to go out to the clubs this weekend. Woohoo, it's a weekend. Or just lay on the couch and beds. If you want this, you have to spend every bit of time you have off working on music.
Oh, but
Yeah.
that sounds so hard.
Well, you don't want it bad enough.
You know what I hear all the time from I wouldn't necessarily say I hear this from musicians, but I hear it from like a lot of other friends and coworkers and stuff. They're like, "Oh, I just binge watched this show, like I watched it all in a week." I'm like, "What? Do you know how much work you could have done in that week? Like you watched 50 hours worth of TV." Where do you find time for that? That's my question.
Right.
You should be working.
And if you are watching 50 hours of TV, you better be doing the legal pad on your knee and writing down.
Yeah,
what
taking
the
notes
are.
and turning it into homework.
At
But if you're
least.
Yeah, someone's asked me, I think, how much TV I watch. I'm like, I really don't. I watch the shows that I'm working on or whatever, and college football, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit there and binge watch and watch all these shows. I don't even know what's on.
I did find out this weekend, I logged onto my computer late at night to answer some emails and found out that House of Cards Season 6 is now out on Netflix. So this weekend, I don't have to work on the road rally. I am going to binge watch TV. I'm excited.
I don't even have Netflix. So.
Really?
Yeah, me neither. I just barely got
You don't have
Like,
cable.
I just got that hooked up so I could watch college football. and then as soon as the season's over, I'm cutting it.
Where Matt lives, his idea of entertainment is looking out the window and watching a cow walk by, right?
It's pretty good entertainment, though.
My in-laws live not that far from you in Idaho, and they live in a little town named Bellevue, and you can literally sit in their living room with the fireplace crackling and watch deer walk by outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. That's a first. Where were we?
I don't know.
We're talking about, in your own words, what have you done that other taxi members who are not finding success yet, italicized, might not have done. So basically, it's, you know what, stop whining about it, do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing things that just kill massive amounts of hours out of the day and the week, that's what I don't do.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I don't do. I don't do Facebook. I don't do tweeters. Instagram. I don't even know what this stuff is. People talk about hashtags. I didn't even know what that was till like a year ago. And memes? I don't even. What's a meme? First time I saw it, was like a meme.
It's a little short purple guy that follows you everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this. Yeah. I don't know any of that stuff because I don't waste time on it. And people are like, "Oh, did you see this thing is trending?" And they got this thing on Facebook. Did you read about this? I'm like, "No." You know why? I don't waste time. Like I'm working. People kill hours. Hours out of every day just mindlessly.
Right, when they could be making money.
Yeah, it's such an easy way to free up time. Like, cut that. You don't need that. People are like, well, I need a social media presence. No, you don't. I swear to God, you don't.
Yeah, you got to put the time into it.
Neither of you guys has a social media presence, right?
I might have
He keeps trying to get me to do it.
Well, I got Facebook, and I heard the Instagram was good for if you're trying to promote your company or music, whatever. So I kind of dabble.
Do you know what
that.
Instagram is not good for? Instagram is not good if you're a young lady whose name starts with F, and yes, I'm talking to you, and you call taxi a couple days before the road rally and you say, I bought 2 mentor lunch tickets or industry meet and greet luncheons, and she was made aware that she was signed up to go to the road rally, but her membership was not current. So somebody in the staff said, look, you got to be a current member to come to the road rally and get you 2 free tickets. And she said, well, in that case, I want to sell my industry eat and greet tickets. Sorry, we called it mentor lunch for 21 previous years. It's a little ingrained. So I want to get a refund on those tickets or give them to a friend. But it wasn't as easy because the pass to the luncheon was printed on your badge when you showed up at the road rally this year. So it wasn't like we could manipulate the database to do that so easily. So the girl's like, that's it. I'm never renewing. I hate you, taxi, and I'm not coming to the road rally, which, yeah, you're not coming because you're not a member, and you tried to weasel your way in. So I was on Instagram last night. I searched hashtag taxi road rally to see what kind of action we were getting. And lo and behold, look who's standing there in the lobby of the hotel.
No.
That girl.
No.
Is she wearing a badge? No, she's not. So you know who you are. If you're watching this episode, I'm coming for
Busted.
you. Yeah, you are so busted. People freak me out. Anyway, they do. It's like, oh, never mind. So let's get back on positive stuff. You guys both have spent a fortune on studio gear, right?
Mostly
yeah.
software.
Had to take out loans and loans.
We're being facetious. The remarkable thing is both of them have really simple studios. I mean, Chuck just said, I've got a lot of software, but you need it for the sounds. And I'm imagining you've got a fair amount of software. Yeah. So they make a point of staying current with their sounds. But go ahead and tell them what equipment you actually use every day.
Yeah, I got my weighted 88 key piano for controlling. Got a couple computers and all that stuff. Remember all the stuff I have? That's all for show. I don't use that. That's all old equipment from the 90s. I don't use it anymore.
outboard gear in the rack.
Yeah,
right?
I don't use that anymore.
Yeah.
I asked you once, I was like, whoa, this is cool. How do you use that? And you're like, I don't know.
It's just for show. I know where to put it.
Yeah, it had lots of LEDs and a couple of numbers on it. So I liked it. And
the Pro Tools rig. The ones I got. What are they? JBLs, I think, or something.
Yeah, they sound good. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
I just bought this right before the first time we came over.
So basically, keyboard, computer. I'm guessing you have a microphone for the occasional real instrument that you record. But you don't have a mic cabinet with like 27 microphones that started at $500 and worked their way up to $3,000, right? You probably got like a
414.
Oh, 414.
That's
okay,
it.
so that's a nice mic.
Yeah.
That's like a $700, $800 mic, something like that. But sounds great.
Perfect all-around mic.
Yep, it is. Love 414s.
It's like the time I went to Matt Hurst's house the first time. I expected he's going to have this huge studio in the back, with the big old board and all this. And I saw this little piano and a computer in the corner of his living room. I'm like, where's your real studio? Oh, that's it. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
that's it?
And no walls built within walls, no acoustic treatment, nothing. Mm-hmm. Literally like up against a wall, pair of speakers, a computer, and a keyboard. And this joker, he has become legendary. Go ahead. Tell them, Matt, where is your studio?
You love this story.
I do. I absolutely love this story. I will be telling this story till the day I die.
So my studio it's in my backyard.
Yes.
It's in a corner of the backyard. It's a storage shed, is what it is.
If you had a shed, it's a nice storage shed. It's clean and kind of newish.
Yeah.
But if you had a riding lawnmower, you would put it in his shed.
Yeah.
His
you'd put a riding lawnmower and some shovels and
like wheelbarrow,
a rusty scissors and a tarp
and some animal traps that are all rusted out because they haven't been used.
Bear traps, right. The meth lab. You get that, all that stuff out there.
What time do you finish working usually? Around midnight?
Yeah, a lot of nights. Yeah.
So you could rent it out from midnight to like 8 a.m. as a meth lab.
I already do.
They might blow it up.
Yeah. I don't want those tweakers around my gear. But no, it's a storage shed. So I got this idea from my dad because at my parents' previous house, there was a shed in the backyard, and they used it as kind of like a guest house, and it had these different areas for riding lawnmowers and stuff.
Yeah.
And when he decided he was going to do some work from home, he moved out into the shed. And I was like, that's so cool. And so when I started doing this, I originally was working out of a spare bedroom. But that's so tough. When you're in your house trying to work from home, it was hard
easy to
for
turn
me.
on the TV. I'm just going to let the news be on in the background.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to the refrigerator because I'm thirsty. And you're having like 500 calories worth of snacks.
There's the dryer. I got to go fold the clothes. I mean, there's a million distractions in the house.
Is that thing heated during the winter? Because it's cold up there.
Oh, yeah.
You got heat in there?
I got heat in there. Yep. so as I was wanting to do this on my own, and I like the first year was all in my spare bedroom, and then I thought I got to get serious about this, and I thought, well, my dad had this awesome thing, so I'm gonna go like to a storage shed company, and I found one. And
how much does this storage shed even cost? I have no idea.
I can't remember now. I think it was $2,500.
And did it come with the floor?
It was a shell.
It's put
So-
together.
Yeah, so
Did you
I went
pour
to
a
this
slab?
company, and I didn't pour a slab because that would be a permanent structure. And according to my,
You'd
you
be
know,
paying
whatever.
taxes.
Yeah,
Right.
it's got to be portable. So it's
Okay.
in the eyes of the neighborhood association, that thing can move.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a remote studio.
Yeah, it's portable. You can move that.
That's right.
But yeah, so I went to there and like custom ordered the size based on the dimensions of my spare bedroom, and I thought, well, that was enough room to work in there. I'll make it just a little bit bigger. And
So how many square? Well, how many? What this by that? How many? What are the measurements?
it's
here?
14 feet wide, 10 feet long.
Okay.
So
It's 240 square feet.
well, yeah, that's what I thought too, but it's not. So when I measured out my spare bedroom, I took the tape measure from one side to the other. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a 10 foot by 10 foot box, so I'm going to go 10 by 14. But what I didn't realize is when you order sheds, it's all based on the exterior dimensions,
Oh, so you
like the
lose a
footprint.
little- right?
Yeah, so you're
each
losing.
wall is like 3 or 4 inches thick.
Yeah, you're losing the 2x4, so 4 inches there, and then the sheetrock and the exterior wall, so about 6 inches on each side. So there goes a foot. So it's really usable
9 by
space is
13.
9 by 13. I was like, this seems smaller than my spare bedroom. What's up?
And no acoustic treatment to speak of, right?
No, no. I thought about doing that. I don't know what to do with acoustic treatment. What would I do with that?
I don't, well, it
Have to
doesn't
watch a
matter
YouTube
because
video.
You're making a great income and making great music that is, creating that income.
Yeah.
In a tool shed that has no acoustic treatment. So let
Yeah.
that be a lesson to you.
Yeah, there's no acoustic treatment out there. I thought about. I still kind of every now and then think about it, but I'm so used to the sound now, it'd screw me up.
And-
If it was more acoustically proper,
right.
it'd ruin my productions.
And Chuck has his stuff in a spare bedroom and no acoustic
With
treatment.
18-foot ceilings, so that's
Yeah,
not
it
the
really-
best for acoustics, but
But I mean, there you don't have anything hanging on the walls, no bass traps,
Nah.
nothing over your head to diffuse sound, nothing. Wow. Okay. So again, there goes another excuse. I really need to get myself in frame.
Yeah, I tell you though, that was daunting for me though when I first started like thinking that I needed to put a studio together at home. Like, oh man, I got to figure out acoustic treatment and we got bass traps. I didn't know what a bass trap. I still don't really know what a bass trap is. It's like, what is this? Is this thing you like stick in a corner? I don't get it. I thought I had to learn all that stuff and then like get the tape measure out and learn these obscure arcane theories
Right.
about X percentage away from the wall based on the amount of distance on the wave. And I was like, okay, how about I just put my computer in here and see what happens?
You can do all that stuff, and some of it works. There are some falsehoods floating around out there that I've seen people. There are brands of acoustic foam that really don't do anything, and any frequencies they stop from rattling around your room are not the frequencies you really care about. So you can do all that stuff, but there's nothing more effective than just knowing how stuff translates from the room you're in to the outside world, which
Yeah.
both of you have clearly done. Let's see. When you were just when you were starting out, and you guys didn't really have like I know both of you now have, a pretty extensive network of contacts and relationships and people that send you briefs, and you know what kind of music they're looking for, but you didn't always know. So how did you just sit down and go, today I think I'm going to create a dramedy track, or I'm going to sit down and create a hip-hop instrumental track? How did you know what to do in the beginning? Let's start with you,
when I
Chuck.
first started, I was writing to the taxi listings.
Okay.
So I'd get the listings every 2 weeks. And, I can do that, and that helped build up my initial catalog.
Were you realistic in what you chose? Because they were talking about on the panel how, don't fool yourself into thinking you're versatile and you can do, I can do country, I can do Italian instrumentals, I can do hip hop, I can do this. Did you pick stuff that was comfortably in your wheelhouse already?
I know stuff that I can't do. That stuff I'm not even gonna, like rock or country, 'cause I don't play guitar.
Yeah.
So I was like, stuff like that, I'm not even gonna attempt it.
Do you remember the genre you cranked out most frequently in the beginning?
Gosh, that's so long ago.
I know. Let's play Stump Chuck.
You are stumping me. Cause, there was a lot of, I guess there was some urban stuff, world music.
Probably
jazz.
new age. Just
there was some, yeah. Gosh, I mean, that was like year 2000 when I first started
By the
doing
way,
that.
Chuck is an accomplished new age artist and has had a couple of albums come out, 2 or 3.
3, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more war. It's not like more like world music.
I cannot keep myself in front.
Yeah.
Oh well, you guys have seen me enough. You know what I By the way, I didn't shave for today's show. Just saying. And how about you? What did you start out working on when you discovered that you didn't want to be a rock star or a country singer, and you started doing instrumental cues? How did you know what to write, and what were you most productive with?
Well, when I first started, I didn't have, well, I didn't know what I was doing, obviously, so I didn't have a specialty. I didn't know what my strengths were, and I didn't know what my weaknesses were. So the only thing I did was just picked listings, taxi listings that I thought looked cool. And I was like, I'll try that.
That's what I did.
Without knowing that I didn't stand a chance at some of these things. But I think as a new composer,
Yeah.
you see some of these things with the big price tags on it, or stuff that you think is really like flashy, like movie trailer stuff.
Right.
I'm like, I want to be a movie trailer guy. This is what I thought. Like when I got going, probably about like my 6-month mark, I was like, I'm going to write for movie trailers. This is going to be sweet. They're like $20,000 a piece. I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, I'm just going to write a few here. see you at the bank. So I wrote like 4 movie trailer things using what was that? Miroslav Philharmonic, which is like an entry level
Yeah, I remember
orchestral
that.
sample library. It costs like $75. And I was like, how come my orchestra doesn't sound like these other guys? And I put a ton of time into those things, and quickly found out that I was outclassed, outmatched, and outperformed, outwritten, out everything. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll move on to something a little more simple. So I did some action scenes.
Okay.
Those weren't good either. So then I moved on to like, oh gosh, I don't know. I tried dramedy. I didn't even know what dramedy was. So I had like
Very few people do.
Yeah.
It's almost like unless you're creating production music cues, you wouldn't know what drama is.
yeah, I had no idea. But I remember the reference listings. It wasn't a reference track. It was a listing, like, a YouTube link to a TV show.
Yeah.
And so I went to a TV show, and I must have listened to the wrong piece, because I made something with like, it was dark with bass guitar and this like creepy electric guitar, and the screener was so nice when he returned it. He said, this is a little dark for dramedy. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And then, a couple of years later, I'm like, that was not dramedy at all. I don't know what that was.
I have a feeling that anybody watching the show who's not a regular is probably going, what is dramedy? Why don't you tell them?
Yeah, okay, so dramedy is, I guess the best way to describe it is light orchestral, whimsical, sneaky,
Like on
mischievous
Desperate
music.
Housewives.
Yeah.
Well,
it's-
They really almost invented that genre.
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah.
Anytime you would see one of the ladies on Desperate Housewives going over the picket fence, parting the bushes with their hands and looking through a neighbor's window, and you're hearing do.
And the
Yeah.
pizzicato strings and the
Yeah.
mallets.
Yeah, it's all the
That's-
pluck strings, mallets. It's very
Little
Hallmarky.
percussion.
Like if you
Yeah.
watch any Hallmark movies, top to bottom. Don't ask me why.
Do I look like a guy who watches Hallmark movies?
The Christmas season's coming up.
That's true.
Yeah, you'll hear Christmas dramedy
Christmas tree.
all month.
Is it just me, or do you find that a lot of people who are early in the process spend so much time trying to be perfect and create something that's like their grand opus, and they work it and they rework it, and they will just beat themselves up and put all these parts in and just try and make it so elaborate because they are under the misguided notion that if I create this incredibly complex, really tour de force piece of music, then people are going to want it in their show. I think that's 180 degrees out of whack with what should be done. Am I crazy?
Yeah, it's completely out of whack. But I say it gets every new composer.
Yeah.
Sure got me. I don't know about Chuck, but oh man, I think I was telling this at the panel I was on. So after I kind of figured out how to put new tracks on Pro Tools,
Oh yeah.
this is a ways into the trajectory, and I realized, oh man, I can do as many tracks as I want. So I'm going to have a million things going on. As long as the computer can handle it, I'll just keep adding stuff. And so I just had, there's a million different things going on. I was like, I'll have the string sections, and I'll break it out into like solo violin, solo second violin, solo third violin, and then all the violas and the cellos, and then the hand. There's a track for everything. And it was like, you had to scroll to get to the, seriously scroll way to the bottom just to get to the end of the tracks. I was like, this will really impress somebody. when someone hears this, they're going to be like, wow, that guy knows what he's doing.
That guy had 157 tracks. He must be good.
Whew, do you hear all that counterpoint? This guy's awesome.
That's a good, counterpoint. What a great example of something you rarely need.
Yeah, who needs? Yeah.
Well, see, I couldn't do that because back then Pro Tools was limited to 24 stereo tracks.
Wow.
So I had to pick and choose, and you could do some bouncing, but that was kind of a pain. So
Yeah.
since I had that, I forgot about that.
You're that old.
Stop.
Yes, I think sometimes limitations
Are good.
are good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just go down these rabbit holes that are stupid, just stupid. So yeah, simple is way better, and
Less is more.
Simple is not only quicker, but it's easier. Well,
Yeah.
once you figure out simple, simple actually is a tough thing to
It is.
understand as a composer, but
Explain why that is.
I don't
never had
know.
to think about it,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why it is, but I tell this to people. I've got a group that I put together in Boise of people that are trying to do this stuff too, and I tell them all the time, let's simplify, cut this part out. It's a little too busy here. Go simple,
But
simple.
I've got this great idea for a line.
But I was the same way. I was guilty too, I don't know why it is so hard to be simple. Maybe it's because we all come from a rock star wannabe rock star background where you want to impress the crowd, I guess. So you're gonna throw in that million notes on the guitar thing, and the
Trying to
drummer's
impress yourself. 'cause you
drummer's
spent
going to
so
do
many-
fills every 4 bars,
Right.
And you just let's.
And you spent so many years perfecting your craft and learning your instrument. You're like, well,
Yeah,
I
so
gotta
let's
do all this cool stuff.
Yeah, and
here.
if we do a oddball time signature 12-13
Nice.
or something,
It's
and modulate all over the place, this is really gonna knock
I
a
can't
crowd's
have
socks off.
7 tracks in there. That's just not enough. That's just below me. I have to put all this other cool things in here.
You could literally have 3 tracks
Yeah.
and make an effective, usable, money-earning cue. Right?
Totally.
Some of
It's
mine
hard
are
to
3
it's hard
tracks
to realize
nowadays.
that.
Isn't that amazing?
And look, they go 10 times faster than something
Mm-hmm.
that's complicated and gets used way more often. And the really simple ones, for whatever reason, tend to play longer.
Right.
And we get paid by the second. So it's quicker, it's better placements, easier placements, longer placements, more money for less work. It's no brainer. But I don't know why it's so hard to get it. It took me a long time to understand that one. And I know,
I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I can't. I can't think of another artistic endeavor. I guess, you know what, if you were a fine artist and you were painting a sunset, and then you go, but I need ducks on the water. Oh, if there are ducks on the water, there's probably a fish jumping back there. And if there's a fish jumping, there are probably some cattails growing on the opposite bank. Before you know it, you've got a cacophony of things in what started out as a simple sunset.
yeah,
Lake.
so I think of that analogy quite a bit, and I always think of, remember Bob Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, the paint. Yeah, he'd start off with this thing, and he'd make this awesome painting. And just when you think it's done, that is a perfect painting. I'd hang that on my wall. He's like, now let's put a fence
house in
in
there.
here.
They gonna put a house
now
in
we
there.
need some
You
happy
just
trees.
ruined
And I'm
it.
like, okay, those trees are cool. Now they need snow. And he's just spends the next hour adding stuff that, well, it was Bob Ross, so it always looked cool. But it was a great painting before all that extra stuff went in.
Right. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, but he's just But he did it for the TV show
Well, I had to
too.
fill up
but-
30 minutes.
Yeah,
Do
so
you know, I actually learned something from Bob Ross watching that show years ago that I applied to mixing. And I did an episode in the early years of Taxi TV, like 8 years ago. I remember somebody in my career who was giving me advice on mixing said, imagine a landscape. And when you're mixing, that there's this oral landscape. And I don't mean oral like put it in your mouth. I mean oral like hear it in your ears. And I was watching an episode of Bob Ross painting one day. My dad's a fine artist, so anything about painting somehow gets my attention. And he explained that the stuff that's closest to you will have more vibrant colors and more definition in the detail. Things that are in the midground will be a little less vibrant because there's air and space and atmosphere between you and that object. And stuff that's farther away will again have less vibrant colors and less detail. So if you think about it, so what I did, our backyard, we look out at a mountain range where we live, and I took some molded plastic furniture that my kids had when they were like 3-4 years old, and they'd play out in the backyard. And so I took a pair of red chairs, plastic chairs, and put those kind of like where guitar 1 and guitar 2 would be. And then took a yellow chair, put that down the middle, and that was like the kick drum and the snare. But then when you start getting into other things like a keyboard pad, well, that's the bushes that are 20 feet away because it's not as present and up in your face, and it probably doesn't have as much top end or detail. And then the mountain range was something else off in the distance. And if you look at a mountain range, it usually doesn't have that, it doesn't have a lot of color. It's grayish, it's earth tones, and it's not that defined. So if you ever want to know about mixing, study simple landscapes because the same rules apply. Bob Ross, you're a mixing genius. Just saying.
That makes good sense.
good,
I like that.
It really,
I think that's the first time I've ever verbalized it, but I've thought that for a long time.
I swear that was like the key to mixing for me. It really was. Just think of a painting, think of a landscape, and the more stuff you put in it, the busier it becomes, and then you lose the focus. Because everything should have, there's something in every painting that should be the focal point, and the same thing with the mix. What's the most important thing in this mix?
Yeah, I've done it before. I've done a mix. I have just too many tracks. And I was like, something's just not right with this. And I start muting out certain tracks, like drum parts, whatever. I'm like, I didn't need that in there to begin with. This sounds better now. And just simplify it.
I remember very early on in my career, somebody said to me, just because you can doesn't mean you
You
should.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is very
I
true.
heard somebody this weekend on one of the panels talking about how women relate better to treble and men relate better to bass. Jack Adams, if you're alive and watching the show, this guy was another engineer producer I learned from early in my career, and he once said to me, when you're mixing, remember, girls like treble and guys like bass because they have a certain anatomical quality that makes bass attractive to them. And I thought, that's kind of crass. But I've got to say, there have been plenty of times in my career where I've heard Jack Adams sitting on my shoulder giving me that advice. Somebody said that very thing on a panel the other day.
No way.
Yeah, so I wonder if they ever met Jack Adams or if Jack learned it from them. Are there any mistakes that you guys see commonly made by newbies?
I think like we're talking about, before, not making excuses. You have to put, if you want to be this to be your profession, you have to put the time into it.
Yeah.
If you want it to be a hobby, then fine, go out on the weekends, go watch TV, go whatever. But if you really
this before
truly
you whack it.
Excuse me.
This is going to devolve really quickly.
It already has.
We're talking about the Rockstar energy.
Your face is red.
And I got to tell you, I've spilled a couple on this table. We're sitting at what used to be my dining room table, and it's like a pine table with a wax finish on it. You spill that on there, it eats right through, goes right to the wood.
Oh, man.
But it's perfectly fine on your stomach.
No, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about newbies and mistakes that they make.
If you want to make this your
the
career,
hobby,
you have to put the time into it.
Yeah.
Be dedicated.
But just because I want it, I should get it. I'm
No,
entitled.
it don't work that way.
Yeah.
Entitlement,
Yeah.
no.
And you know what somebody said on a panel at the rally? Hey, it's okay if I think it was on the panel you were on, or maybe it was Dean Carpano, somebody said it's okay to not make $100,000 or $200,000 a year doing this. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
If
It's
you want
okay.
to
That was Keith
make
that said that.
a couple
Keith,
$1,000 a
That's
year.
fine.
You know?
If it's a hobby, that's great. But don't quit your day job. You're not going to be able to.
Right. By the way, is Keith LeBrant one of the nicest guys ever?
Yeah.
I love that
What
guy.
a sweetheart.
Yeah.
A sweetheart. what an awesome manly dude.
He's another one of our members that sends me like if they dress his daughter up as a pumpkin. His daughter, I even know his daughter's name is Olivia, and if Olivia gets dressed up like a pumpkin for Halloween, Uncle Mikey knows about it in Los Angeles.
Uncle Mikey.
Oh.
He keeps me in the loop. Do you have any sage advice for newbies?
Yeah, I would. So I'm going to take a little different route than Chuck here. And compositionally, there's a lot of mistakes that people make when they're first starting. And I think the best thing you can do really is like go to the taxi forums, and find the people that are doing it successfully. And they'll always, like almost always, have a SoundCloud link in their signature.
Right.
Go to that and listen to all their music and study it like religiously. Take it with you to the gym when you're walking your dog. Just stream that stuff, and osmosis may kind of kick in a little bit just by listening to it. But there are so many mistakes that people make just because they don't know the strategy of composing and arranging a good cue.
For cues.
A cue.
Because that would be different than scoring a movie or doing a concert composition.
Yeah. But even vocal songs geared to TV placements are different than a vocal song that you would release on an album.
You betcha. And you might need a copy of this book if you want to learn about it. Just saying. Shortcuts to Songwriting for Film and TV. The only book on the subject currently on the market. Anyway.
Cha-ching.
Sorry.
No, but huge. I would say that you have to learn the arrangement because there's a science to it. There really is. And if you're just making music that doesn't follow a certain pattern, then you just don't stand a chance.
And know what you're doing. Like one of my, I guess you call him a mentoree from last year. He every now and then sends me a track. Hey, what do you think about this? And he said, I got this tension track, and it's not getting reviewed very well on the forums. What's wrong with it? So I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to it. And it was kind of a happy, serene track that you would hear like in a nature documentary. And I'm like, dude,
that's not tension.
This is not tension. So go to my website, go to the tension page, listen to those. That's kind of like the path you have to go. And he tweaked it and tweaked it again, and then he had it. But you got to know what, if you want to do a certain style, know what that style is and what you need.
It's all out there. And I've got to say, that was really nice of you to show somebody how to compete with you. And I've got to say that the Road Rally is quite famous for the generosity quotient. That many of our members who are experienced, successful members that are earning their entire living doing this are so generous. I mean, you literally, that guy could end up competing with you, but I'm guessing that your attitude is, I'm just going to do the right thing and help the guy because somebody helped me at some point.
Yeah.
Well, side note, that's the only reason I'm sitting here, is because Chuck helped me. Like,
really?
However many years ago that was that I
rally.
met you. Yeah, Chuck listened to my entire CD that I didn't know this guy at all.
Yeah.
Well, he
didn't
saw
know
me
him.
and Steve Barrett walking through the lobby.
Yeah,
like,
and-
I saw you guys on Jackson
yeah,
TV.
That's right. You guys run right before the Road Rally 2 years ago or 3 years ago or something.
No, it's like
This is
4 or 5
yeah.
years. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I
But
noticed his beer was empty. I'm like, dude, I got some beers out in the room. Come upstairs. Let's go. Have my
And I was
parents.
like, well, that's good because these things are $8 a piece. And I don't have that. I'm not going broke down here in the bar.
we can watch the planes take off from the terrace. So
Yeah.
that's when you played me your stuff. And
Yeah, so Chuck's like, well, play me your music. And he listened to every single track that I brought, which I don't remember how many it
And
was.
gave you a beer.
And gave me a beer.
That's more than any beer.
and within the course of however long it was, an hour, 45 minutes maybe, he gave me notes on each thing, each track. And he's like, you don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. This here's okay. Do this different.
Were
and
you
it was like
devastated or excited?
No, I was like, this is awesome. How often do you get this chance? Like you get the one-on-one mentors there and you get 15 minutes.
Right.
But here get like a master class with Chuck. Like this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, this is like there are some people that pay big money for one-on-one, like extended one-on-one like coaching sessions, and here I'm drinking his beer for free. So I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm just like taking copious notes in my head, which I later went down to my hotel room and wrote every single thing down that I could remember.
Wow.
And here I am now. Like I credit my entire trajectory off that one chance meeting with this guy who just gave his secrets
And that's
away.
what I'm saying. When you send stuff to me now for the library, it's like, I'm like, holy crap, that's good. Except when you had the kidney stone.
Oh yeah, I was a little whacked out on Vicodin.
I was like, these aren't very good. Let's not do tracks when you're on medication again.
But you said something really key in that conversation, or in that story. You said it was a chance meeting. Not really, because you saw him and you knew how to act in the moment.
Yeah.
You knew what to do with that. Most people would have just been too afraid, too timid, and let him walk on by.
Well,
and because
okay.
you weren't, and I've noticed you are not a timid guy.
But okay, so I want to tell this story because I've told it to all my guys in Boise, and it is like in preparation for the road rally. I was like, just kind of take a lesson from your elders here. So when I was at that rally where I met Chuck, now that was my second road rally I'd ever been to. I didn't know anybody because the first road rally I didn't meet a single person really except James Koshin and Jacqueline Van Bierk. Those are the only two people that I met. So going into my second one, I was determined to be the best student possible. I was going to sit in the front row for every single class session. I had my notebook, my fancy mechanical pencil. I was ready to do it. I was like, I want to be a college student again. A+ right here. I was going to take notes on everything. I was going from sun up to sundown, going to every single class, which I did. But registration night, so Thursday night, I got all registered, get up in my room, kind of get settled in. And I'm looking at the schedule, and I say, okay, the first thing starts at whatever time the keynote address was.
Usually like 9 a.m. on Friday morning.
Yep. Yeah. So I thought, okay, that's kind of early. Boise's just a little bit off in time. But I thought I'll just maybe order a pizza or go get some food, get a good night's sleep. I'll wake up early, drink some coffee, and I'll just be ready to go. This is how you be a good student. Yeah. Like I would never recommend my college students show up to class hungover, but anyway, so I was like, I'm going to be the best student possible. And then I thought, well, maybe I hear people talk about this lobby, the lobby bar, all that. Like this is where people meet each other.
Yep.
I was like, I'll just go check it out. I don't know. Maybe I should just go to bed early. So there was this. Really, I was weighing two decisions. Either go to bed early and be a good student, or go down to the bar and see what happens.
Drink and network.
Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. So I told myself I'll go down for one drink and I'll walk around this bar for as long as it takes until that glass is empty, and then if nothing has happened, I didn't meet anybody or whatever, I'll go back up to the room and I'll still go to sleep early.
This was his dating protocol as well.
This is what I do. I troll people like this. Hey. So I went down to the lobby. I ordered one beer. And I'm walking. I got in my hand.
For how much? $8.
$8 freaking dollars. You throw a tip on that, you're $10 down. Like I brought an expense budget of $20.
That's a $60 six pack.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so you do the lap.
Yeah. So I didn't even do the lap because I saw Chuck and Steve Baird standing right there, and I just seen him on that Taxi TV, and I said, "Hey, I know you guys from Taxi TV." Yeah.
You guys are famous. You've been on Lasco's show with 500 viewers.
I think I don't know why Chuck was actually nice to me, because he probably got that a million times as the weekend went along. I must have just been the first person to say it to him. So he was like, "Hey, your beer's getting low." And then we were talking about college football. We're both huge college football fans, and his team, Georgia Bulldogs, and mine, Boise State Broncos, we just played like a year or two before. Boise State won that game.
We went about that.
So we did a little smack talking and stuff, and it was just, boom, that one conversation turned into me sitting here right now, having a full-time job as a TV composer. And that really was really a decision of, do I just stay in my little bubble
Right.
and be a little introverted and like be
Hermit.
a hermit, yeah, or do I go down and force myself into socializing in the sea of people that I didn't know a single one? That's an intimidating.
Even for you, I mean, you've got a huge
Yeah.
personality. You're like the easiest guy in the world to get to know.
Oh, thanks.
You are. I mean, everybody who knows you, it's like, man, that dude's friendly. But really, you have an introverted component?
Well, yeah, it was just that to me, from an outsider's perspective, someone new to it, it seemed like everybody at the road rally knew each other,
Yeah.
except for me. I didn't know anybody. I was like, how are these guys all friends?
We sent out an email. If you meet this guy with blonde hair from Idaho, pretend you all know each other.
Yeah, I was like, what's the conspiracy here? So I was just kind of nervous because everyone's like talking to each other. Like, how do you butt in on that conversation?
Right.
Like, hey, excuse me, and then like hammer one guy out while you just monopolize and railroad someone's conversation. So I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I really had to force myself to do that.
Wow.
And
Well,
so that was it.
And we say the road rally is life-changing, but you know what? It's not the road rally, it's life-changing. You changed your own life at the road rally.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what I try to tell everybody. I'm like, this is going to be such a magical weekend, but you really kind of have to take the bull by the horns and do things that are out of your comfort zone if you want that magic to really happen.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How about you? Any stories like that? I mean, it feels like you know everybody in the taxi community. I mean, maybe it's just because you've been around forever, but I've got to believe that a lot of it is your generosity and your personality. I mean, this is something all of our like most famous members, if you will, all you guys are just nice people. Mm-hmm. That goes a long way. Did you ever have a problem with like meeting people at the rally?
No.
Are you shy or introverted? Or...
No, I mean, that's one thing about the rally. I mean, it's great, obviously for having success, but man, the amount of friends I've made from the rally is just like I think my most favorite thing.
Did you see Adonis Eletris was there this year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That little statue back there behind you guys, the little statue
Oh,
of not Winged Victory, I think,
This
Venus,
fair?
right? Yeah. Adonis sent me that years ago. Mm-hmm. They were going through a rough patch, and he sent me that with a note that said, we really didn't have the money to buy a new bed for our daughter, and because of Taxi and because of connections I made and money I made, our daughter got a new bed. Thank you.
Oh.
And he sent me that.
Oh,
and I've
that's
never taken it off
awesome.
that
Wow.
shelf ever since then.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he's a
cool.
really sweet guy, and
Yeah.
I missed not having him around for the last 2 or 3
I
years.
saw him briefly this weekend.
Yeah, he's got a book out, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw a copy of his book, but it was all sold out when I went to go buy a copy
Oh, yeah.
for myself.
I've got a copy somewhere in my box of stuff from the rally. He gave me an autographed copy, which I'm grateful for, and I'm looking forward to reading it. What are some of the tricks of the trade for being more productive? Well, we kind of covered that early in the show, but one of the things that we talked about on your panel was templating.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what templates are, why they're handy, and kind of the in the trenches use of templates?
Yeah, so a template is basically a blank canvas in whatever DAW you use, but although it's a blank canvas, it has everything already set up so that you can just compose.
Big time saver.
Yeah, so
But it doesn't come that way out of the box.
You're
You're the one that determines what goes into the setup?
Yep. So here's the way I've done this, and this is a massive time saver. Like, I really credit this to why I'm so productive.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'll make a track, and in whatever style. Let's just say tension, and I'll make a track from scratch, doing all the new tracks layer by layer, and then have the master bus and the auxiliary feeds and all that. And when I've got a track that I think sounded really, really good and had all of the elements that a good tension track should, then I'll save that entire session as a template. And what that does, doesn't save any of the audio or any of the MIDI notes. Maybe it does in some DAWs and in Pro Tools. It doesn't.
But it saves all the instrument sounds that you've chosen?
Yeah, so every single track will already have the synth loaded up on it. All the EQs, all the compressors are already there.
Because you've done all the dialing in.
Yeah. Even the
up.
mixing is already done because you've already adjusted levels. You already got the reverb sends and the delay sends, and the master bus is already set up exactly the way you want it. So all you have to do the second time you jump in is just start
Load template.
composing. Yeah, you load the template and you're like, oh, there's my track for the synth pad, and it's already got the sound, but you can change it and
So I think I asked this when we were doing the panel, but doesn't that lead to homogeny where everything sounds the same because you're using the same template, or?
Well, yeah, that is a risk, and it does happen. So I was going to jump in on that panel and give another side to the story.
Yeah, but there's a great answer for it, why it doesn't all sound homogenous.
It doesn't really always sound the same as long as you make a conscious effort not to use the exact same stuff all the time. So if you load up your low synth pad, well, just press the next preset, just boom, and now you got a whole new sound. And everything can change at the click of a button.
Or put
really
some weird plug on.
Yeah, or put in a different plugin, or maybe throw a distortion on. Like, you can always make these alterations.
And you have to be aware. Now, let's say that you're sitting down, you're going to use the template because you're doing dramedy. Mm-hmm. So you've got the pizzicato strings, you got the vibraphone or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you could sit there and use the identical sounds and make 10 cues because one of them is a little more mischievous than the other one. One of them is maybe a little darker. One of them's a little happier. Mm-hmm. And so you can, first of all, they've got different keys, different melodies. So there are all these other components you can change, even though the templates, the audio sounds the same. It's being used in a different way.
Same orchestration.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, every orchestra is built on the same exact setup.
Right. There's a good one.
Like
same
all
players,
the strings, all the same players, the same strings, the same brass, the same
They're
woodwinds,
set up the same way.
because they're all set up the same way. They're all recorded the same way.
Yeah.
But every piece by every different composer sounds so different because it's the composition. Really, it's not. They're all using the same pieces.
Yeah.
I was at the Hawaii Songwriters thing I go every year, but 3 years ago, a friend of mine named Hookman, who is a top liner, and he was playing a song that he wrote for somebody, some big artist, and played the demo of it and said, we worked feverishly on this. It was all like A-list writers in the room, and we pitched it, and it didn't go anywhere. And I was just devastated by that. And I realized going back and listening and re-listening that it just, something about it didn't connect. And then he changed the key and went, dropped it down from a C to a G. And he said, magically in an instant, the whole track worked better because the bass was lower and it was more of this. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny how you can take something that's identical, not even virtually identical, but identical, and just by merely changing the key have that kind of impact. So I imagine taking a template and using it in a different way kills the homogeny, number one, and number two, you got to recognize that, okay, well, I was doing that for dramedy cues, but now I'm moving on to swampy acoustic guitar cues. So you're not going to use the same sounds.
Right. Yeah.
You got to know when it's appropriate, when it's applicable.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Chuck? Anything, any tricks of the trade?
I was thinking, just remind me of something there with the key change. When I'm working on a song, you hear it over and over and over, and whatever, you make a mix and listen to it. It kind of gets old. So a trick that I've always done is just make a mix of it and put it in my whatever wave thing that changes the key, like maybe 2 steps up or 3 half steps. Listen to it. It totally sounds different, and I'm able to hear stuff. Oh God, I wasn't hearing that before. Oh, right there.
Oh.
That works. That's a secret right there.
Let me write that one
You
down.
should write that one down because it works. That's one of my big
that's a
secrets.
good one.
Somebody, we all heard a cue, I think, in the ballroom that modulated about 2/3 of the way through. And somebody asked a question either on that panel or a later panel when we had a little audience Q&A going on. Somebody said, so is it a good idea to put a modulation in a cue? And the answer was no, because they're going to edit their way around a cue. Just so you guys, if you're new and you've never watched a show and you don't know about composing, they're rarely, if ever in your lifetime, going to use an entire 90-second cue. They're going to use 12 seconds or 34 seconds or 2 seconds. They're going to use some cut down or edited version of it. And if you've done a modulation, they can't go from the beginning to 2/3 of the way through, because the actual, the composition where it modulates won't be in that edit. So all of a sudden it's going to go,
But the sting ending's not in the same key you started in.
Right.
They can't use that to edit it. And
where the hell did that come from?
They're like, well, we can't use that cue.
Yeah, there's another little trick for you. Don't modulate, even if you feel like...
Or if you do, go back to original key to end it.
Yeah.
I've heard that sometimes don't work.
Yeah.
The reason people are compelled to modulate is because cues are notoriously the same thing. Pretty much an A section all the way through, maybe drop a B section in the middle or 2/3 of the way through to give it a little variation. So people feel this compulsion to modulate just to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I would say there's a difference too between like a natural progression that could sound like a modulation versus, like, when I think of bad modulation, I'm thinking of like 1980s Bon Jovi, Shock to the Heart or whatever it is. Like at the 2/3 mark of the song, all of a sudden, that just lifts up. And all the 80s bands did it back then, and they
Thank
ended.
you, Diane Warren.
Yeah, they ended on that new modulation, so that new key, and it just lifted everything up, and it was just a classic 80s trick. But that's the modulation that doesn't work in TV composing. In fact, that's one of the mistakes I'd made when Chuck listened to my music. He's like, don't ever do that.
Oh, yeah, like, don't do that.
I was like, okay, noted. Because I was doing it too.
I always tell people that the formula for success with Taxi is to become an active member of the forum. I already covered this. Try to implement suggestions from the Taxi A&R staff. Watch Taxi TV, and most importantly, come to the rally. Yeah, I said that. I made a comment. Anyway, all right. I'm out of stuff that I've written. So what do we do for the next 13 minutes? Let's go to the audience. Do you guys have any questions?
I was going to see who's all in there. Hey, Marcus.
I saw Marcus a while ago.
Marcus in there.
No? I don't know if they've even had any yet, but...
You know what? I think there might have been one that I can see.
Here's a question from... Sorry, I got to lean in
I can
somewhere.
read it for you.
Okay.
How would you guys go about making a full-time income from writing contemporary hard rock instrumental cues if you were me? That's from Dan Weber.
I don't do rock, so I'm not quite sure how to answer that question.
And just because Bree is on the backside of the microphone, how would you guys go about creating a full-time income doing hard rock cues?
You would find outlets that need hard rock.
Which
libraries,
sports TV, libraries that do a lot. You know what? Choose your libraries according to who their clients are, because a library that does a lot of like orchestral stuff that would end up, in dramatic, in Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
That library probably wouldn't be the best place to put your hard rock stuff, but somebody who gets a crap ton of placements on Fox Sports or ESPN would be an excellent place
for any kind of
that.
extreme sports show.
Yeah.
But you have to do your research.
Yeah, you got to
That's
do your
the important
research.
thing with anything, and this.
You don't
do
want
your
to
research.
send your music to the wrong place. But here's how you find the right place. You just watch the shows that use a lot of hard rock, and then at the end of the credits, it'll say music supplied by.
Yep.
Boom. It's only going to be like 3 libraries.
And then they're going to send an email, because this person is new, not you, Dan, but just a mythical person that's new and follows that great advice that you just gave. And then they Google and they find XYZ library, and they send off an email that says, I'm the greatest, most versatile rock guitar player you've ever heard, and you really need my music in your library. And the library is like,
who the heck are you?
So do you have any good advice for how that email would be better written to get the desired result?
I would say those emails, no matter how good they're crafted, are just a gamble.
So
I think
my answer would be join Taxi.
I was
Wait
just
for
I
listings.
was just going to say
Yeah.
the best thing that you could possibly do to get in as a composer with no resume, no credits behind your name, is to submit to Taxi listings, because they're going to get you through the door in a solicited fashion rather than the millions of other people who are sending this, I'm the greatest in the world, but you've never heard of me because I've never been placed in TV, but I could do it. And those are just going to be ding, 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 delete, delete, delete. Whereas the Taxi listings are people that come to you guys.
They're looking for
because they need it. So when they get that music sent to them, they're like, oh, this is the stuff I was looking for. It's like having the food delivery or the pizza show up on your doorstep, as opposed to the, I don't know, the guy selling an alarm system who's just going door to door. You don't want that guy there.
No, because actually he's scoping out your house because he's going to break
Yeah, he's
in.
casing
You
the
don't
joint.
have an alarm system.
Yeah, right. But you wanted that pizza, so that's you're gonna be very receptive to that. But oh man, those unsolicited emails, I would say, are probably mostly getting trashed.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And why would they go with somebody that they don't know when they've already got, 27 hard rock composers that they do know? So you want to use Taxi as your tool to become one of the 28th one that they know.
And the tool, if your tracks aren't right, you'll get a great critique. And read those, because these guys know what they're talking about. Say, oh, yeah, I should probably do it. Just and do what Pete said, advice, and change your track. And don't be married to your song.
Oh, that's great advice right there. Don't be married. People get so emotionally
Been out of
attached
shape.
to what they've done that they can't change it. But you know what? Nobody really gives a damn about your cue. Yeah. To you, it's really important, and I get that. And I'm not making fun of you or putting anybody down, but the import that a track has for you is not anything what other people feel. So you have to see the world from the end user perspective, not from your perspective, because the only person that really cares about you is you.
Yeah. This reminds me of something. It's a little bit off topic, but it's a natural segue.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, I was in the registration line at the hotel. Not like
not for the rally.
Not the rally, but at the
actual
hotel to go get checked into my room. And there were a couple of guys behind me, and they were talking about, I had this company call me up and offer me a deal, but they wanted the copyright, so I told them no. And I was
Rookie
like,
mistake.
oh God, that's dumb. Then they recognized that I was standing in front of them, and they're like, oh man, what would you have done? You don't sign over your copyrights, do you? Like, every single time. Yeah, a copyright. Who cares about a copyright? Like, what good is that doing?
That's one of those old wives' tales it's got legs just by repetition. Don't give up your copyright. Which, you know what? If you're writing big hit songs and you've got some hits under your belt and you're in a position where you can say, I'm sorry, you can't have my copyright. You've earned that right, and that's the time to do it. But we're talking about instrumental cues. I don't want to imply that they are a lesser art form, but they are a commodity.
Yeah.
And you will make more of them. You could write the greatest dramedy cue today, and you'll write 10 more.
That's another story you've told before, is you've had Taxi members that have gotten followers, and the companies call them. They didn't get back to them. And you're like, why? Because scared, might get screwed.
Why does everybody think that everybody in the music industry is just waiting to screw people?
And why are you trying to get in the music industry if that's your perception?
I'm speechless.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I'll tell you this. Speaking of that mindset, I've ran into nothing but good people in my career doing this.
On the industry side?
On the industry side, yep. Just great people all around that are looking out for the composer. Like, there's no sharks. Well, maybe.
Well, yeah.
There's one.
We won't mention it.
But they're good people that they want the best for you, because when you make money, they make money.
Right.
And we make it together. It's for every penny I make, they make the same penny.
Yeah.
I make $100, they make $100. I make $5,000, they make $5,000. Why wouldn't they want you to make more? Because they're making more too. No one's trying to screw anybody. It's not like the stories you hear from the 70s and 80s where bands are just getting taken to the cleaners. You know,
This
they're
is
writing.
a different side of it.
Yeah, it's
even
not
in the
even
70s
yeah.
and 80s, the production music library business was a different beast than the record industry. So if you want to compose for TV, know that it's a different industry. Yes, you're using instruments. Yes, you're writing music. So those aspects are the same, but it's like a Volkswagen Beetle and a Formula One racer. They're both cars. They both have an engine. They both have four wheels, but they're dramatically different things.
Yeah.
They're the same, but they're different. It's like Sesame Street. Any more questions?
Sesame Street.
Gotta bring him back. Sorry, I know
Wow.
there are a few.
We've
Okay.
almost done 90 minutes already.
Jim
Oh,
Stamper
man.
asks, what's your primary genre and how many different genres do you each do now?
Okay, JD Stamper wants to know what's your primary genre and how many genres do you do now? So let's get that answer from both of you guys.
Urban, hip hop, tension,
What was the first one? Urban?
urban,
Okay.
hip hop, EDM. I said tension already. Just like a mixture of pretty much lots. Like I said, I don't do country, don't do rock because it involves guitar and I don't play guitar. Yeah, that's about it. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, I like very, very similar to that. Hip hop is where I really started getting, I think, the most action
Yeah, that's
initially.
been my biggest.
And then dramedy has always been pretty good for me. And then blending those two together, so you got the hip hop comedy
Urban
urban comedy.
Urban dramedy.
Yeah, urban dramedy.
Am I
Yep.
dreaming this up, or didn't one or both of you guys kind of almost invent that? I don't know where I'm getting that from, but somebody once said to me, I can't remember which of you two guys it was, somebody said to me, I don't think that urban dramedy really existed until one of you guys wrote. Some library owner, I thought, said that to me.
Could have been either one of us. I guess we've both done a ton of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes buckets of money. It's used all the time. It's the best.
I know a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of supervisors now are trying to get away from the standard dramedy because
Yeah,
they're
that's
sick
kind
of
of
the
been-
pizzicato strings
Yeah,
and
It
the
might be a
marimba.
little bit spent now, so I don't know if I'd recommend people get into that.
I know one soup in particular. He's like, "Don't ever sing
Yeah.
dramedy ever."
It was good for a while though.
Yeah, had a good run.
Had a good run.
Yeah.
Did have a good run.
We've got like 3 minutes left, and this brings up an interesting topic, which is everybody says, give me something fresh, give me something new. I don't want the same old dramedy crap. We've been using that for years. Enough of the pizzicato strings. Give me something different. So a lot of people take that as, license to create some stuff that's really wacky. I'm going to show you different. And what they create is so different that it's not usable. So am I nuts in thinking when you look at an overused genre, like let's stick on dramedy because there's a ton of it out there and it's used in practically every reality show. Just changing the instrumentation. Many years ago when I worked with Neil Young, he did a song called Pocahontas. And he opened up the lid to the piano and he took a guitar pick and dragged it across one of the strings that was like a brass wound
Yeah.
Lower than
string.
bass string.
And it made this sound. So I've got to think that that's kind of an example of maybe you could take a guitar pick and pluck a piano string or pluck piano strings and make and mix those together with pizzicato violins and come up with just a different texture.
different.
Same thing, but just different enough because you don't want it to get the attention of the viewers because they should be locked into the story, the script, the actors, or not actors, reality TV, into the characters. But different enough that when an editor hears it who's laying in the music, they go, I like that. It's a little different. Were you guys in the ballroom, by the way, for Laurel Ostrander's thing in the beginning of the rally?
I was there for the first half hour, then I had to go.
We
do
both
the
had to go to the
one-on-ones.
mentor session.
yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to see the whole thing. I heard they used some of my stuff in there and his too.
Yeah.
Oh,
some nice stuff.
that's right,
Dang it.
because they were
Yeah.
using John's library.
Yeah.
No, this is like your library,
It's
wasn't
my
it? The 10
library.
West.
Oh, it was your
Yeah.
library given to John. That's
Yeah.
right. Anyway, that woman, I am so in love with her as a teacher. She's
good.
She's just born to do it. I mean, she's a highly paid editor. She's she is not cheap. And I mean that in a good way. She's earned her wings. And she was a story editor before she became a video editor. But someday that woman's going to run a company like, I'm trying to think of one of the big, like Endemol or something. She sees the big picture. She's able to articulate her thoughts so well. I just can't say enough good stuff about her. And I'm so grateful that last year and this year that the people got to see that thing. It's like, oh, now I understand how my music will be used. Now I understand the thought process that an editor uses to pick the music. Now I understand why I shouldn't try and create a 30-second cue or a 4-minute cue, that 90 seconds is probably enough. So much of what she talked about, I think, made it really obvious to people about how they should treat composition, even though she herself is not a composer.
Well, and I think one of the huge things that I harp on people all the time for this, it happened right before we had to leave for the mentor sessions. But it was a strategy that has nothing to even do with composing a track. It's titling.
Oh, yeah.
Like the way you title that piece of music that's the first obstacle you got to overcome. So as your track is one of 100 or 1,000 or however many things in there, it's the title that's going to be almost like the clickbait.
Like your urban dramedy that I titled.
Yeah.
Let's go there some
Yeah, you got to come up with a title that fits for the genre and the track. So when they click it, they hear what the title is. Like, it's got to make sense.
Right, like you don't title it Urban Dramedy Track 1.
Yeah.
You would title it something like Peeking Through Windows.
Yeah, or like Turd in a Punch Bowl. But that's like something they click on.
I gotta remember that. We're using that next.
I think I have a track that one of my friends, I don't know if I should say his name, but Joy,
Yeah.
He loves one of the tracks I got just by the title. It's called "Who Farted," and I got another one called
that's not mine. I thought hoof hearted, right?
No, mine's actually "Who
He
Farted." But it's titles like that jump off the screen is going to make people want to click on them, as opposed to
what was that album you did for him? Turd Burglars.
Turd Burglars. Oh yeah, that was another name. But you got to have these crazy titles, because if you don't, then you're just like, oh, nice track. 1.
Yeah.
Nice music. 5.
They're gonna go turn the punch bowl.
Yeah, I mean, are they gonna click on that? Or are they gonna click on like dumpy poop? But this wacky stuff. But then it's got to sound like that, so it's got to be just it's got to be funny. If you're doing a funny track.
Nobody farted. It's my shoes that were in the Jordan River.
Chuck snorting.
Well, on that really highly sophisticated topic, I think
Went downhill.
Just killed it. It's over.
as your shrinks, I'm sure tell you every week, our time now has come to an
Cut us
end.
off.
Guys, seriously, do you know this joker? We're supposed to actually be home in Idaho today, and the other day I was talking to him and I said, "Can you do me a favor and extend your trip by one day? I would love it, as long as you're be in town." So he did. He changed his flight. By the way, just send me an email so I've got some paperwork to give to Angel, but I want to reimburse you for that because he spent $81 to be here on the show. It shouldn't cost.
Oh, did I say 81? I meant
881.
181. Just let me go home and Photoshop that real quick.
I'm surprised the change fees are that cheap on Southwest or any airline for that matter. So thank you for doing it.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Thank you for staying.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Chuck.
Always great, man. I love you guys. It's I feel so blessed to be a business owner that has customers that are friends to the point of being like family to me. So thank you, and thank you for all the love you spread around with your fellow members and all the people that you guys educate, and for all the humor that you bring to the table. You guys are damn funny. And with that, we're gonna sign off. I have no idea what we're doing on next week's show. But
can I say real quick? Thanks to everyone that I met this past weekend. Like everyone at my lunch tables and the one-on-one sessions, there were just awesome people there. Some people were just making fabulous music, and everyone I met in the halls and at the bar and like everywhere, you guys just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get there.
Absolutely.
You could be titling tracks "Who Farted" and laughing about it here with us. Like, just give it a couple of years, but to all those guys, it was just awesome. Of course, Marcus, Terrell, Keith, the whole litany of people. Mark Himley. Gosh, I can't now. That I'm trying to think of their names. Brain fart. But all my homies. It's so great to see you guys all again. So
Mark, I'm glad you cut your hair, Himley.
Yeah, I just saw a picture of him with the long locks. It's pretty awesome.
He looks so much better.
It's epic, but yeah, he does look a little better now.
Anyway, see you guys next week for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Bye, you guys.